Deep in the cosmos, Princess Zilaria ruled with an iron fist. Her heart, a cold, dark nebula, her laughter, the echo of collapsing stars. She revelled in the misery of others. Punishment was her delight. Zilaria's palace, a monument to her cruelty. Walls adorned with the trophies of her victims. She cared nothing for reason or justice, only the sweet symphony of suffering. One day a servant tripped, spilling Zilaria's cosmic juice. The princess's eyes blazed. 1,000 lashes, she shrieked, her voice like shattered glass. The guards obeyed, their faces grim. Zilaria watched, her laughter echoing through the vast halls, fueled by the servant's pain. This was Zilaria, a princess who feasted on fear. Word of Zilaria's cruelty reached the ears of a kind old toymaker. He lived on a distant moon, crafting wonders for children. He decided to appeal to her better nature. He journeyed to Zilaria's palace, his heart heavy with hope. He presented her with a gift, a music box crafted with care and love. "Perhaps this will bring a smile to your face," he said, his voice trembling. Zilaria sneered. "A toy?" She snatched the music box and hurled it against the wall. It shattered into 1,000 pieces. "Your efforts are wasted on me, old fool." The toymaker wept, not for himself, but for the princess. He saw no humanity in her eyes, only the cold, uncaring void of space. One fateful night, Zilaria decided to embark on a joyride in her royal spaceship. She soared through the cosmos, leaving a trail of stardust and destruction in her wake. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. A cosmic storm erupted, engulfing her ship in a maelstrom of energy. Zilaria screamed as the controls went haywire. The spaceship, buffeted by the storm, hurtled towards an unknown planet. Zilaria's laughter died in her throat. For the first time in her life she tasted fear. The ship crashed into the planet's surface, a fiery ball of metal and rage. Zilaria, miraculously alive but stripped of her power, stumbled out into the unfamiliar night. She found herself in a world of green and blue, a stark contrast to the barren wastelands she had always known. The vibrant colours and the fresh, crisp air were almost overwhelming to her senses. She had never seen such lush meadows or such a clear blue sky. It was as if she had stepped into a dream, a beautiful dream that she never wanted to wake up from. Her own planet was a desolate place, filled with rocky terrains and endless deserts. The lifelessness of her home was a stark reminder of what she had left behind. Here, everything was different. Everything was alive. The air was alive with the sounds of creatures she had never encountered before. Birds chirped melodiously from the treetops, and insects buzzed around the flowers. It was a symphony of life, a chorus of nature that filled her with a sense of wonder and awe. Lost and disoriented, she wandered through the unfamiliar streets, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and excitement. She had no idea where she was or where she was going, but she knew she had to keep moving. The quiet residential roads seemed to stretch on forever, each one looking more like a maze than the last. It stood on a street called Maple, a name that sounded as sweet and inviting as the place itself. The house was quaint, with a white picket fence and a garden full of blooming flowers. It looked like something out of a storybook, a perfect little haven in the midst of her confusion. As dusk began to fall, the house became a beacon of warmth and light. The windows glowed softly, and the porch lights cast a welcoming glow. It was as if the house was calling out to her, offering her a refuge from the unknown. She had no choice but to seek help. With a deep breath, she walked up to the door and knocked hesitantly. Her heart raced as she waited, hoping that whoever was inside would be kind and understanding. The door was answered by a woman with kind eyes and a warm smile. She looked at Zilaria with a mixture of curiosity and concern, her gentle demeanour putting Zilaria at ease. She didn't seem to notice the strange attire of her unexpected visitor. Instead, she focused on the look of desperation in Zilaria's eyes. "Can I help you, dear?" she asked, her voice soft and inviting. It was a simple question, but it held so much promise. Zilaria, her voice hoarse from the journey, could only manage a whisper. She had travelled so far, and now, standing at this doorstep, she felt the weight of her journey. "I need shelter and work," she said, her voice trembling. It was the first time she had uttered these words without a hint of command, a plea for help from a stranger in a strange land. The woman nodded, her eyes filled with understanding. "Come in," she said gently, opening the door wider. Zilaria stepped inside, feeling a glimmer of hope for the first time in a long while. Section 5, Dust and Dreams. And so Princess Zilaria, the cruel ruler of a distant world, became a maid in the house on Maple Street. Stripped of her royal garments and adorned in a simple maid's uniform, she was thrust into a life she had never imagined. The grand halls of her palace were replaced by the modest rooms of a suburban home. She who had once commanded legions now scrubbed floors and dusted furniture. Each day was a reminder of her fall from grace, a humbling experience that chipped away at her pride. The once mighty princess now found herself at the mercy of mundane chores. The work was tedious, humbling. Every sweep of the broom, every wipe of the cloth was a stark contrast to the life of luxury she once knew. Her hands, once adorned with jewels, were now calloused and worn from the relentless labour. She who had feasted on delicacies now ate simple meals with the family. The lavish banquets of her past were replaced by modest dinners, shared with people who had no idea of her true identity. The taste of the food was different, simpler, yet it filled her with a strange sense of contentment. They treated her with kindness, unaware of her true identity. Their warmth and generosity were foreign to her, a stark contrast to the cold, calculated interactions of the royal court. She found herself slowly drawn to their simple, genuine way of life. At night she would lie awake, her mind filled with images of her former life. The grandeur of the palace, the power she wielded, and the fear she instilled in others haunted her thoughts. She wondered if she would ever return to that life, or if she even wanted to. The palace, the guards, the endless parade of those she had punished. These memories were a constant reminder of the person she used to be, a person she was no longer sure she wanted to be. The endless parade of those she had punished, faces of those who had suffered under her rule flashed before her eyes, filling her with a sense of regret she had never felt before. She questioned the choices she had made, the lives she had destroyed. Was it all a dream? The line between reality and fantasy blurred in her mind. The life she led now seemed so distant from the one she had known. She often wondered if she would wake up and find herself back in her royal bed, surrounded by luxury. She would stare up at the unfamiliar stars, her heart a knot of conflicting emotions. Regret, confusion, and a strange, unfamiliar yearning for something she couldn't quite name. The stars seemed to whisper secrets to her, secrets of a life she had yet to discover, and a strange, unfamiliar yearning for something she couldn't quite name. It was a longing for a sense of purpose, a desire to find her place in this new world. As she gazed at the stars, she felt a flicker of hope, a belief that perhaps, just perhaps, she could find redemption and a new beginning. One day, while cleaning the attic, she came across a box filled with old toys, dolls, wooden trains, a music box that played a hauntingly familiar tune. Memories flooded back. The young daughter of the house, Lily, skipped into the attic. She saw the tears in Zilaria's eyes. "What's wrong?" she asked, her voice filled with concern. For a moment, Zilaria couldn't speak. Then she did something she had never done before. She confided in the young girl, pouring out her heart, her voice a mere whisper. Lily listened patiently, her brow furrowed in concentration. When Zilaria was finished, Lily reached out and took her hand. "It's okay to be sad," she whispered. "Everyone makes mistakes." That night, as Zilaria lay in bed, she couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted within her. The room was silent, but her mind was a cacophony of thoughts and emotions. She stared at the ceiling, the shadows dancing in the moonlight, and felt a strange unease settle over her. It was as if the very air around her had changed, thick with the weight of her past deeds. The laughter of her victims, which had once been music to her ears, now echoed with a haunting clarity. Each chuckle and giggle, once a testament to her power, now felt like a dagger to her heart. The forest outside seemed to whisper their names, the wind carrying their voices to her ears. She could almost see their faces in the gnarled branches and twisted roots. She saw their faces, etched with pain and fear, each one a reminder of the suffering she had caused. The memories flooded back, unbidden and relentless. She remembered the way their eyes had widened in terror, the way their voices had trembled. It was as if she was seeing them for the first time, truly seeing the depth of their anguish. She saw the toymaker, his eyes filled with sadness, not anger. His sorrow was a mirror to her own, reflecting the emptiness she felt inside. She had taken so much from him, more than just his creations. She had stolen his joy, his purpose. And now she felt the weight of that theft, a burden she could no longer ignore. For the first time she felt the weight of her actions. The guilt was crushing. It wrapped around her like a vice, squeezing the breath from her lungs. She had always thought herself above such feelings, but now they consumed her. She could no longer hide from the truth of what she had done. The faces of her victims haunted her every thought, their pain a constant reminder of her cruelty. It was a heavy cloak woven from the threads of her past cruelty. Each thread a memory, each stitch a regret. She wore it now, unable to cast it off. It was a part of her as much as her own skin. The wind tugged at it, but it remained, a constant reminder of the person she had been. She wondered if she would ever be free of it, if she could ever atone for the pain she had caused. She didn't know how to shed it, how to atone for the pain she had inflicted. The path to redemption seemed shrouded in darkness, the way forward unclear. She felt lost, adrift in a sea of her own making. But as she sat by the lake, the stillness of the water reflected her own turmoil. She realized that the first step was acknowledging her wrongs, truly understanding the depth of her actions. But in the quiet of the night, a new feeling began to blossom in her heart. Hope. It was a fragile thing, delicate and easily crushed. But it was there, a small light in the darkness. She clung to it, nurturing it with every breath. The stars above seemed to shine a little brighter, the garden around her a little more peaceful. She dared to believe that change was possible, that redemption was within reach. Perhaps it wasn't too late to change, to find redemption for her past sins. The sunrise brought with it a new day, a new beginning. She stood at the edge of the horizon, looking out at the possibilities before her. The journey would be long and difficult, but she was ready to face it. With hope in her heart and determination in her soul, she took the first step towards a new future. The next morning, Zilaria woke with a newfound resolve. She went about her chores with an unfamiliar energy, her heart lighter than it had been in eons. She smiled at the family, genuinely smiled, and they basked in the warmth of her unexpected joy. Even the house seemed to brighten in response. She began to see the world through different eyes, the beauty in the mundane, the joy in simple acts of kindness. The world was full of wonder if only one had the eyes to see it. Zilaria realized that true power didn't lie in fear and oppression, but in compassion and love. These were the forces that truly bound the universe together. Time passed. Zilaria, once the cruel princess, became a beloved member of the family on Maple Street. She learned the meaning of hard work, kindness and forgiveness. Though she still bore the scars of her past, she no longer allowed them to define her. She had found redemption in the most unexpected of places, in the heart of a simple life. The princess and the maid, two sides of the same coin, one consumed by darkness, the other bathed in light. And in the end it was the maid who discovered the true meaning of power, the power to change, to heal and to love.